Mm.
And that's where we go snip, snip, and we cut the end of the podcast off. And we're going to go to the live stream chat and see if we've, and sometimes it's feast or famine. Sometimes we get a ton of questions. Sometimes we don't.
Great.
We got a couple people here that came. You must have said something. Somebody said that you sounded very Statham-esque, like Jason Statham-esque.
Very nice.
Something you had said.
I've replaced his voice in movies before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was a movie it was like a Chinese funded movie that came out a couple of years ago that he did. And it was, I think, funded by the Republic of China.
Oh, wow.
But he ended up, it was like an action film. And anyway, couldn't get him. So I did his voice.
Wow.
A couple lines, not the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. It was cool.
Rumor has it that Jarrett had a Walking Dead podcast once upon a time.
Yeah.
We touched on that a little bit. And obviously time constraints. I would have liked to go a little bit more into that. Tell us about it. We got time now. Non-podcast people can listen.
It was called Dead Fans Talking. And really, I was I learned a lot about audio editing and that kind of stuff through that, which is what led me into audiobooks eventually. But my friend Mick Montgomery, who is working at Riot Video Games right now, he started this, and he and a friend of his, she was a comedian, and we all got together, and we would meet once a week after the show, and we would talk about it. And like The Talking Dead, like we would watch that, make sure that we had all the new information, what was coming up. We do a post-mortem, which was so apropos for Walking Dead. You said the post-mortem. Right. Anyway, so yeah, it was just themed, like Walking Dead themed, and had good music and everything. So my friend Mick was such a good producer, and then he couldn't do it a couple of times, so he had me do it. So I learned how to host, learned how to edit. So it was definitely, I was cutting my teeth on that stuff. Nice. And I loved it. It was a great thing. Good to have those conversations and trying to be engaging and get information, funny, interesting. All those things you're trying to do.
Keep people interested.
Yeah. It was.
I get that.
Yes, you do, and you're doing a great job.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
There was a name we couldn't remember earlier, and it was Eric Larson.
That's right. Eric Larson
is the name. Thank you. One of my mods got the name for us. Posted a link to Eric Larson's books. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad, because I couldn't read it at night. I couldn't listen to it at night. It was that scary. It's a true story, and it was just terrifying.
Nice.
Horrifying. Yeah, great story.
Yes. What are some good resources you use for learning accents? Is one of the questions.
So there's my favorite resource it's called the Internet Dialect Database. So it's like a dialect of the English Archives is what it's called. Internet Dialect of the English Archives, IDEA. You won't find it if you just type that into the internet. You'll have to actually type IDEA dialects. And if you do that, it'll come up. And they have categorized like every type of British accent, every type of Irish accent, every type of Scottish, and they have it all in this one website, this one archive. And so you can listen to like Donegal Irish, 27-year-old male, 1995, and so, they all read the same poem, or it's like Comma Get Secure. It's this long form sort of story. So you get all the different, the kind of phonetics of the language. So each thing is like, you get to hear the difference between the way that they say "comma get secure" in Irish, "comma get secure" versus like "comma get secure" in Scottish, or "comma get secure," So it's like everybody has like, those are the kind of things that distinguish these different accents. So anyway, if you get a chance, check it out. It's a really great resource. It's like the only resource.
I personally love accents. I can maybe hold one for about this long, and sometimes they don't match. I'll do an Irish, and eventually it'll slowly branch into a Scottish. I couldn't tell you which Irish or which Scottish, but I enjoy them and I love them. And whenever I hear any narrator doing it, I'm like, wow, that's just so amazing.
Yeah.
And usually I can usually hear and tell the difference between when somebody switches from Irish to Scottish, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's like learning. It's a bit like learning a language. It's interesting how being able to recreate the sounds that you hear is very difficult. It's not an easy thing.
Right.
So, but yeah, you know who does it well is Luke Daniels, man. Like he stays in that Irish, bro. Like he can stay in it.
Have you listened to the new the Blood and Paper?
Is that the newest
Ink and Sigil series that Kevin Hearn did that Luke's in?
So it's not the Iron Druid. It's
in the same universe. It's in the same universe.
Ink and Sigil, is that the one where his dog goes and everything goes to San Francisco, or is it the newest one where
there's the two newest ones, and it's a new character is the main character, but it's in the Iron Druid world, and he cameos. The character cameos in one of the books, and I think it's the book of all the short stories that they had, and this character cameos in the Cuddle Dungeon as this guy that shows up as some sort of authority.
The Russian. The Russian guy.
He's a Scottish dude that comes in.
Oh, is he Scottish?
I
thought he was like the Russian thunder god.
No, it's in that story. It's the same story.
Yeah. Okay.
So the thunder god is in there, and Flittish is in there, and then there's this other authority figure that's a mortal authority figure that sends them in to do this project, and he's like, I want to know more about this character, and so he made them the main character, and he's like this authority figure that basically the gods basically need contracts to land on Earth, and if they don't, they're in breach of contract.
They're in breach of contract.
That's
interesting.
But the character is Scottish.
Okay.
And then he has a hobgoblin that speaks in a different Scottish accent, and he's got a curse, so he can't talk to people. So he has to use his phone, which is a translator that has a Scottish translation accent that doesn't match his accent. And so Luke's got to bounce through all of these. It's hilarious.
Dude, that's so crazy. Well, so Flittish and the Thunder God had a breakup. That's the latest I've got is that part, and I think that's the book prior to the Ink and Sigil one.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are great, and I love Luke Daniels' work on that. I think it's incredible. I just got finished. I was building in here, listening to that like a few days ago. So I was the other one, the most recent Iron Druid, which was what I was listening to.
Yeah, they're all great.
They're so good.
So yeah, when I heard the story that you were like it was you and him, I was like, well, that makes sense because Jarrett's really good, so it totally makes sense. And then afterwards, it's like, you know, getting your reaction and realizing, like, to me, it's like if somebody was trying to pick up a podcast, for instance, and I'd be like, they tell me you're number one running, and then they tell me, well, sorry, you got beat by Adam Carolla. I'm like, yeah. Sweet. That's awesome.
I mean, it's totally a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Like that it was between me and Luke Daniels. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll lose to that guy all the time. It might get old after a while, but I think the first time it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an honor. Right on.
Let's see here. There's a lot of stuff where they're just kind of talking to each other.
Cool.
If anybody else has any questions, feel free to ask while I'm scrolling through these. Justin says you need to check out the new Max Abaddon covers for the new covers for the books.
They're super cool. I saw them.
And he says, FYI, I kept all of Jarrett's Max auditions. If you're still listening, Justin, if we do a thing where we get you and Jarrett on, you'll have to queue those up, and we'll have to play them for people.
All 10 of them or something. I don't know, it's like 10 reads of the same chapter. Oh, that was the other thing. What I did is instead of just reading what he had written for the audition piece, I went and bought the book and I read the first chapter. I actually read the entire first chapter. I'm like, yeah, this is me in the first chapter. So I'm not just going to read this little paragraph that you get. So I gave him 10 minutes of material on. So it's crazy. And I did that twice. So I don't know. I'm sure. So it's so annoying. So that was funny. But that's why I love those books too. So I'm excited we get to read. I get to listen to them with Luke.
Nice.
Great, man. Yeah.
Well, it looks like that's all the bonus questions we had.
Groovy.
And we'll do the little snippy symbol there, and we'll get to some of the see what kind of live questions we have. We have a lot of people chatting. Cool. I saw when we were discussing that you hit on a note when you were talking about your the porn name thing, and everybody started mentioning theirs. I was like, oh my gosh, you just started a whole new thing.
That's funny.
Let me see here. There we go. I've done my timestamp so I know where to end the actual podcast itself. And sometimes, every once in a while, I'll take stuff from the Q&A afterwards and I'll insert it into the show. Whether or not that happens here tonight, we will see. Let's see, what questions do we have? First, I got to go. Luckily, we have some amazing moderators, and oftentimes they will throw all of the questions in a little thing for me, and that way it's really easy. What work or series are you most proud of? One of the first questions.
It's so hard. So I got to eliminate my own book. I can't. That's
it's biased.
It's biased. So.
Well, that's number one. What's number two? Or three?
Are we talking audiobooks or are we talking anything?
Well, let's just go anything. Whatever you want. Whatever
okay.
pops in there.
I'm super proud. I'm super proud of the Legend of Driz books. You know, okay. I think they're great. I'm very proud, as I said, of this Marcus Aurelius book. I mean, I really feel like I was doing a service by doing that, and honored. And I am super proud of having written my book. That more than anything, something I always wanted to do. Yeah.
After you've been doing audiobooks for a while, did it really push you more to go, I got to get this book written?
Well, again, I started as a screenplay, and then when the movie fell apart, I said, I'd always wanted to write a novel, and I thought this would be a good novel. And so I wrote the first draft, and it's totally sucked. It took me 6 months, and it was just basically a screenplay without the formatting. And then I put it aside for 2 years, and that's when I started doing audiobooks. And I did like 20 or 30 books, and I came back to it, and I said, oh, I know how to write prose fiction now, because I'd been speaking it aloud.
Right.
So it suddenly it was remarkable. It was like transformative. So what was the question? Sorry, what was the question you asked me?
We were talking about the series that you were proud of, and I asked you if it was helpful, if like reading all the audiobooks kind of pushed you to go, I got to get this in novel form.
Yeah. So that absolutely, and yeah, I love language. I love writing.
I know for me, every time I get a guest on a certain thing, like if I get a board game designer on, I'm like, for the next 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, well, I have this game idea that I should design. Or if I have an author on, I'm like, well, I should really get to writing a short story or a book or something, or I'll, whatever it is the guest is, I'm like, oh, I should really get on that and look into that and put more irons in the fire that I don't have time for.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite genre that you really enjoy narrating for?
I would say the genre that I enjoy is really good writing.
Okay, yeah.
But I definitely enjoy fantasy. I enjoy sci-fi. I've done some sci-fi that's just terrible, that's boring, and but some of it's great, and I really love it. It's fun as heck, and yeah, and of course, a great work, like great, literary fiction is a pleasure. Really, like I said, the Kurt Vonnegut was a really, enjoyable book. Again, so it's really across the realm of. I mean, I had 3 books that I was given to write and to narrate from a country in Eastern Europe.
Okay.
And they were so disconnected. I mean, and for a good reason, because they were trying to fly below the radar when there were still sort of dictators in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
But I couldn't make heads or tails of it, and that was just really, really hard. But if it's a good story, well written, good subject, I welcome it all.
Okay. You did a bunch of different Star Trek things. Are you a fan of Star Trek, and how did those all come about? Was it just like Star Trek this, then this, then this, and it's like they just kept calling you back to do other stuff on different shows? Or
yeah, so I was a huge fan of Star Trek as a kid. I remember the original series. I was so upset when it went off. I was like 10 years old, and I loved it. So the first real Star Trek episode I got, and it was the best part I played, was on Deep Space Nine. I played a Bajoran resistance leader, and I had the funny little thing on my nose.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then the casting people really liked me, and they would bring me in for stuff, and it was smaller roles, oftentimes just to get my health coverage. But I remember one time when I played a Starfleet officer. It was on the one when the Borg was eating everybody. I forgot the name of the movie, but
First Contact? No.
Yeah, First Contact. Yeah, it was First
Contact. Okay.
But I just remember being in my Starfleet uniform with a phaser in my hand, and running around this incredible set.
Yeah.
That I felt like I was 10 again. I just was pretending, whoa, this is so cool. So that definitely, I love sci-fi. I love sci-fi.
Nice. So they just keep calling you back?
They just kept calling me back. I mean, not anymore, because they're all shot in LA.
Yeah.
LA. When I was in LA, they would keep calling me in.
Nice. That's really cool. That is definitely cool. Somebody said, "That's amazing, such a dreamer," in reference to the parkour thing, making it a reality and practical. Somebody goes, "I've been waiting for the Assassin's Creed reference since this interview started." They said, "At the last event in Turkey, some of the local free runners were mentioning it." This person must be someone that knows you. So that's kind of cool.
Cool.
Tosses roses. I don't know what that reference is, but okay. This person goes, "Is it rude to ask for his celebrity impression?" Talking about Jaraxel. Do you?
Jaraxel.
Is that rude to ask for the celebrity impression and see if we can guess the actor, or is it super top secret?
I wouldn't tell you who it was. So you can guess. Listen to the books and you can guess.
There we go. Go buy the audiobooks. Any of the audio R.A. Salvatore ones. Probably the later ones. I don't think Jaraxel was in like the first handful.
He kind of came in and out, but he's very big in the recent ones like Glacier's Edge and the ones that go into the other.
Yeah, the new ones. I really like the ones where it's just him and Entreri, just the two of them.
They're great. They're great.
That's my dream team right there. That's my type. So when I'm reading a book, I like the anti-hero roguey type characters. So like all of the books I consume are those kind of characters. So when I found out that R.A. Salvatore was releasing just books with those guys, I'm like, you got me. You got me back into the genre.
And it's such a great relationship between Entreri and Drizzt, and just how Drizzt he never gives up on Jarlaxle on Entreri, because that's the whole reason he left Menzoberranzan, was because he believed he could have a different life, and so he meets someone who's a human who like almost belongs in Menzoberranzan, and yet he can never give up on the guy, and it's great to see the transformation. And that's I think what sets, other than the fact that he's a really wonderful craftsman and as a writer, I think what sets his books apart is how the characters continue to change and develop and grow.
Yeah, the evolution of them all is amazing.
Because so many fantasy, most fantasy we see in the movies, Marvel stuff, it's black and white, good and evil, and that's just boring. I mean, that's not the way life is. Life is about the gray areas.
Yeah.
And it's so rare that we have a villain like the Nazis. That's why, they brought it back in the third Indiana Jones movie, because it's so easy to hate the Nazis. It's just, they're just bad.
Right.
But other than that, it's like there's always nuance.
Yeah.
And that's what makes stories interesting, is how do people deal with the nuance?
Yeah. And the individuality of each individual. For sure. This person says, "I missed it. You mentioned working on Broadway and theater. What was your favorite show to work on? And have you ever done a musical? Do you write lyrics or poetry?"
Okay. There's
a lot of questions right there in that one.
So I used to do a lot of musicals when I was younger. And I wanted to be Gene Kelly.
Okay.
I mean, Yeah, I loved Singing in the Rain when I was a kid. It was my favorite movie. So I did all through high school and college. I did musicals. I loved. I did. I played. I don't know if you know Guys and Dolls, but at one point I'm often was cast as the leading man, which is great.
Yeah.
But really the character roles are more fun. And when I look back on my career, it's the character roles that I really remember.
Yeah.
So in Guys and Dolls, I played Nicely Nicely. It was traditionally played by a big person.
Okay.
And so I wore a suit to make me bigger. And and uh, and I got to sing "Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat," which is one of the great songs of all time.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I mean, probably the performance I'm proudest of was when I got to do, and I loved acting Shakespeare. I absolutely love Shakespeare. I'm born on his birthday.
Nice.
I just love it. And so I got to play Malvolio in Twelfth Night.
Okay.
And again, one of the great roles of all time. So I'm super proud of that. Um, I never actually got on Broadway. I understudied a Broadway show,
Okay.
Ibsen play called John Gabriel Borkman. Um, did a lot of theater in New York, a lot of really high level off Broadway, like the New York Shakespeare Festival and Circle in the Square. So yeah, I love the process of doing theater. The process of making movies as a director, I think, is much more fun than as an actor.
Yeah.
Though I'll tell you, so I told you earlier, so I was in a movie when I was 16. I got cast in this movie and I was, just touched by fate and got to be in this movie. But we were shooting the movie at the same time. It was Paramount. It was the same studio as The Godfather.
Oh,
and they were shooting The Godfather in New York as we were shooting Separate Piece in New Hampshire. And I got to hear all these like stories when it was being shot because nobody thought, like our director had turned down The Godfather because nobody thought they could do it. I don't know if you've seen The Offer on Paramount Plus. It's amazing.
No, I haven't.
It's about the making of The Godfather. It's dramatized.
Oh wow!
And because of the unions, the mob was going to shut the thing down. They didn't want the movie to be made. Anyway, that was a really cool period because I got to be in all those all that the making of The Godfather as well.
Oh wow, that's super cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I think that's all of our live stream questions. Like I said, sometimes you never know if we're going to get a whole bunch or just a couple. So we got a few some recognitions of people that actually came here because they knew you from the parkour or the Star Trek or the whatever it is. So thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure.
I'm also really glad for those that are watching the live stream. Victor's in literally right up by downtown New York, right? Somewhere in that neck of the woods. So we didn't have one siren go by during the show. It wasn't until after the podcast. So fate came. They're like, no emergencies near Victor until after the recording is over. So we lucked out with that.
Awesome.
Set that aside. I have a. It's funny. We were talking about ACX. I actually have had a narrator profile on there for like 3 or 4 years, and I've done absolutely nothing with it. Because I was like, I might do this when I started doing this show. I was like, well, maybe I'll do that as well on the side, and I'll put it all under the Epic Realms Media banner, and I'll do that. And I was just like, I just don't. There's things I need to learn. Like I also acted, but there's things that I'm like, I don't know if I can. So it's just been sitting there, and every once in a while I go back. I'm like, maybe I should look at things that might be under my wheelhouse or that I could do. And then I was like,
well, if you get to that point again, you let me know. I will point you in a billion different right directions.
Okay. I'd love to. I think I could, obviously, but that's my radio voice. I've got my radio voice. That's about it.
No, you want to do your Nick voice.
My Nick voice.
No, seriously. Yeah, it's all about. Well, but I mean, like, if you're looking for like, okay, here's a coach to teach you this, or here's a place to figure out. I mean, like the minutia. Or even just here's what it means for what your demos are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Here's the kind of things like the nitty gritty of like things. What is punch and roll? I mean, you let me know. I got you.
How do you do this accent without it being completely stereotyped? You know, those kinds of things.
Don't do it.
Don't
That's how.
do it. Luckily, I do a lot of
Then
role
don't.
playing, so I try to do stupid voices all the time. But yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Let's see if we can get some questions in here. Are there any video game series that are out now that you really want to do? I'm assuming for voice work. Would you like to do voice work for any upcoming series or ongoing series
that have to do with like video games?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, video games. You want to do the like Baldur's Gate 4 with
oh my god, that would be so cool. But they're all we're doing Baldur's Gate 3. My husband's like already beat the game. I'm like, I'm working on it. I like playing Asterion, if anyone cares.
Yeah, Neil's amazing too.
Yes. When I do D&D, I usually roll like a halfling rogue. But
I love my rogues. Rogues and bards and those types are my faves.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate would be great, but they usually like to use like proper British people who are from native speaking places. I feel very comfortable with my British accent, but I would not turn it down if they came at me. That would be amazing for Baldur's Gate 4. Oh, yeah.
Well, they had so many little kid voices in there too that you could probably throw in there.
Call me, man. Call me. Oh my gosh. I mean, okay, so, you know, there are a lot of Marvel games out there, and I would desperately love to be Gwen Stacy.
Oh yeah.
Holy cow. I mean, she's already been done. I know people have done her, but you know, you can just retcon me into a new one. It's fine.
Yeah. There's
I'll figure it
multiverse.
out.
There's the multiverse, right?
Exactly. Yes, I'll be a variant, please.
There you go.
So and also being a comic geek, I'm a big fan of all the, the DC or Marvel, mostly Marvel, but because that's where Dad kind of brought me into when I was a kid. But I'm just thinking like the stuff that we have at home. Like I love God of War is one of my favorite all time games. But if they ever did another like Cyberpunk, oh my god.
Love Cyberpunk. I just finished my second run through on that.
Oh, I would so love to do anybody or another Red Dead Redemption. That would be cool.
Yeah, Red Dead. They've got to do another one. I like that whole series. I was there from the Red Dead Revolver way back.
Oh, wow.
The people. If you know, you know, sort of thing.
That was before my time. I've heard of it, but I've not played that.
So good. It's not before your time, but because you know.
Well, right.
We've had this discussion.
Right.
Both of us sitting there playing Pong.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Question: an OCD or perfectionist type person, how nitpicky did you get with your recordings? I.e., do you go through and edit out every single vocal click pop, or just not worry about it that much?
Oh, that is a good question.
Our live stream questions are always better than the ones I have. Always, across the board.
Oh, listen, I loved your questions, but that was a great question because it's so true, right? Okay, when I first started audiobooks, I edited it. Oh my God, it's like pocketed it.
I hate the word edited it.
I did it myself, editing wise, which was long and hard. So especially when I was doing that myself, holy cow, I would was really hyper focused on like any breath, not just the obviously those big breaths you're going to take out, but even like the catch breaths.
Yep.
And I was then you're like, I don't even sound real because I'm not even breathing. So yeah, it was definitely a struggle. Or I would in the booth, I would do several takes, and because I just couldn't get it right, it didn't feel right, and I would find that it was just taking me forever. And I'm like, time is money, holy cow. So I had to teach myself to chill the F out and let go.
Yeah.
And so the way that I did the best was to prepare more on the front end, so that I understood the characters. because for me, every time you do an audiobook, for me, I do an audiobook, I read the book twice beforehand.
Okay.
And then whilst reading. And then before, when I was editing it, it would be 3 times.
That's the best. That's the best I've ever heard it. I can't even say it that well. Look at you being the professional reader.
Thank you. So yeah, so it's definitely been a struggle. And oftentimes, like what I am learning in therapy is just like these disruptive kind of therapy of just like stop and just trying to like talk yourself off the ledge, because otherwise you're just not gonna move forward, right? And uh after I got rid of editing my own stuff and either outsourced it if I was doing indie stuff, um, or thankfully when I got hired by publishers, they have a whole
team, yeah.
Team who does that. So then it was just a matter of, okay, I don't have to worry about editing, but I still have to try not to do 40 takes or be so critical of myself. It's taken a while, but I've definitely um, mastered it, where it's anytime it does flare up, like that nagging, like I can't move forward unless I say, which sometimes I can't, so I just have to just bullet through and just get through that sequence, and then I can move on with my life. But therapy has helped a lot.
Yeah. Somebody asks, do you listen to audiobooks yourself, and is there any other narrators you look up to?
I do. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's not the podcast anymore, so you just cough away. Hack your lungs out. You're good.
Excuse me, folks. Sorry. In that case,
take a shot of something. I don't know.
Just water. Or I have a Red Bull right next to me, but I'm trying not to drink that right now. Yeah, I love listening to audiobooks. I don't listen to it as often as I would like. But there's too many to name as far as like narrators I look up to, and it really just kind of depends on what I'm listening to. Like I've done a lot of lit RPG, literary role play game books or game lit, but mostly a lit RPG, which is awesome.
It's really picked up steam in the last year.
Oh yeah, and I came from EverQuest and WoW, right?
Yes, EverQuest, another EverQuest. This is a digital hug over the computer.
Oh yay! Yeah, you're so my people.
Right.
So that's what they remind me of, and so I would say like Andrea Parsono is incredible. You've got like Travis Baldry, who's amazing. In lit RPG, I mean, even Jeff Hayes is absolutely incredible, and everything he does at Sound Booth Theater. I have so much respect of the storytelling, and I know them personally, which is fun, but just what they do is just top level, right? But then, I could also be like, okay, Jesse Valinsky is amazing actor just in general, and she does a lot of voiceover for video games and animation, but especially video games. But she is amazing at young adult. And so I remember early on, I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, based on the newest show, not the original one with Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah.
And I had already watched that show, but I was like, I'm trying to get like kind of a vibe. And I just started, I'm like, oh, you know what? She's so good. She's who I want to be when I grow up as a young adult narrator, or Amy Rubinate, or Christine Vam, Tanya Eby. I mean, God, there's so many, man. There's so many. Eduardo Ballerini. I'm listening to a lot of Jeffrey Deaver, and I love his Lincoln Rhyme series. And Eduardo's done almost all of his books. And I mean, even Scott Brick, who I love dearly, a great, great, great man. He's been around forever, and he's a legend. But his narration is so different, and because I do a lot of differentiating characters, right, where he doesn't differentiate much, but his storytelling is so riveting that you don't even care. He just knows how to draw you in. So there's so many different things that I take from each of these people who PJ Oakland is another one, who's also my dialect coach, one of my dialect coaches.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, I could go on for days.
That's awesome. All right. This question says, oh, I like this question. Do you find that you take on a different voice when you record a specific pedantic persona, or do you really try to keep your own personal voice? I thought that question was going to go somewhere else, but I have a follow-up question to this. When you record a specific pedantic or persona, do you really pedantic? Pedantic. There we go.
Pedantic. That's okay.
Persona, or do you really try to keep your own personal voice?
Okay, let's go to Merriam-Webster real quick. Pedantic. That's such a great word. Which means disapproving, relating to, or being pedant, overly concerned with minor details. Hello, OCD. Narrowly, stodgily, and often ostentatiously scholarly or unimaginatively dull. Pedantically pointing out errors. Okay. Whew.
And I think that's just an example. It looks like, well, you take on a different voice when you record.
Like yeah. I just wanted to. I want to really make sure I'm answering the question, and I like I said, sometimes my brain processes things very literally.
Right.
So, okay. No, I like that question too. I differentiate my characters, which is important for the listener so you don't lose them, like who's talking, and then they get pulled out of the story. So usually the main character, if it's like young adult or my age, not if it's a kid's middle grade book or lower, younger, I'll use my natural voice for the main character, right? Because that's just the one who's driving the whole story and is closest to me, and then I don't have to worry. I can just be. There are any other secondary, tertiary, and all the other areas of drilling down to whatever other characters are in the story. It depends on how the author has written them, who they are, what are their quirks, what is their age, what are they are they the villain? Are they, you don't know they're the villain to the end of the story, so there's this, subtext of villainy, but you don't know it, or so there's a lot of different factors of how I decide where to take my voice. But usually, if it's first person, and if it's between like 16 to age 30, 40, it's the voice you're hearing right now. That's the voice and the rest is just acting, right? You just how do you feel? And you don't act through your voice. You just act emotionally.
Right.
But if I'm doing a middle grade, well, I'm going to be doing something that's a little bit higher pitched or a little bit younger or even a little bit younger. So there I'm actually making a conscious effort to like shift my voice down, and that takes a little bit more of stamina to keep it matching that way, because like when I'm just doing this voice, I don't have to overthink or remember, because it just naturally is. So for pedantic, for example, I can still be pedantic as Andrea Emmes or using this voice, right? So then it doesn't matter about the vocalization you're doing. It matters on, well, what is the character being pedantic about? And then you just be pedantic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. My question, this is what I thought it was when I started it, but then sometimes my brain also jumps. Do you ever take on a character and then walk away from the microphone and you're still doing mannerisms of that character?
That's a great question. I did this series, and I'm still waiting for book 4, which should hopefully come out next year. I hope. Called the False Icon series by Rick Gualtieri and Ari Carr. And then the first book was like Second String Savior. It's a very Buffy the Vampire Slayer-esque kind of character.
Okay.
And very, very snarky. Now, I can be snarky and silly, but she was like very Buffy, very in that kind of one-liner and just sarcastic. And my husband was like, I've done 3 of these books so far, and they're pretty long, and just love them. And they come from Rick Gualtieri's bigger world from the Bill the Vampire series. And so I've lived in this world for a long time. And he's like, "Why are you talking? Why are you sniping at me? Why are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even realize it, because I just spent like 40 hours just being this character."
Right.
Usually I can just turn it off, but I love her so much that I would say Jessie Flores was the one that I just I can't quit her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Last question in the chat. You mentioned your initial male voices. Did you find that you fatigued your voice before you refined your vocal process for them?
That's a great question. No, but I do want to say something about fatiguing in a second, but they just sometimes if you're excuse me, I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
I'm low key trying not to belch out loud.
That's okay.
But
you can only the people that are live here will know.
Well, I don't even care. I don't know. I should have just let it rip, but we just met.
You're good.
But
You're
we're all
fine.
friends now, right?
Right.
So like, when males are doing female voices or females are doing male voices, it can be very easy to fall into a stereotype. Like, if I was a male narrator and I would do my girl voices like this, I'm like, girls don't talk like that, or maybe I'm going to be real low. I mean, you just take it to the
Right.
ridiculous. Like, this is not how men speak, right? So but for whatever reason, you're like, you haven't quite, because you never had to do it before,
Right.
clock into what does a natural man's voice sound like coming from my vocal box.
Right.
So it was just ridiculous. It just was not real. It was not genuine. It just sounded fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was trying too hard, because like if I want to do a guy's voice, all I got to do is just kind of drop it down a little bit. Or maybe I need to be a little bit lower, but I don't have to be killing my voice, trying to go. I'm a mezzo soprano. I can do a little bit of the alto, but I can't go much lower, right? So if I'm trying to push myself and this goes towards the fatiguing part,
Yeah.
going too low, because sometimes the author can say all these amazing. His voice sounded like he was chewing gravel, or like he, and you're like,
right,
yeah, that ain't happening.
That's yeah, you're not going to be able to.
Yeah, so and especially if you're the opposite sex or gender, you can only do what you've got in your vocal range. So you just do the best as you can, so it sounds, um, close enough, and then the listener's imagination will do the rest. But if you're not careful, you can fatigue your voice out, because if you're doing anything unhealthy, like squeezing your vocal cords or trying to push because I need to be low, or I need to sound like I'm gargling glass, then because I have done that, and you can't sustain that for an entire book, right? Or a series, and I learned that the hard way, because in a book one, there was just like this guy's voice, or this ogre's voice that had like one line in book one. And so I was like, all right then. And then I realized, oh, in the second book, he had a much bigger role. I'm like, I can't sustain that for pages and pages. So you have to learn what you can get away with. But with the male voices, for me, I have to do what makes sense with their age, with what my voice can do, and like the person said, without fatiguing my voice.
Yeah. That's actually funny you mentioned that about the book 2 coming out. Almost every audiobook narrator that I've talked to on the show has had that happen, where they have a character that's just like this short character, and so they give it this ridiculous voice, and then that character later on, book 2, 3, 4, they have a much bigger role, and they're like, I need to change how I do this character, because I ain't doing that for an entire book.
I had to do that because you're like, oh my god, yay! Now we're gonna have a little fun with just like 2 lines.
Yeah.
but it bites you in the ass, and it's so true. I think we've all gone through that, and sometimes you'll even forget who that character was because you're in book 4 and you're like, wait a second, Clyde? Who the fuck's Clyde? Oh.
And you have to go back and re-listen to yourself. That is a question, and I lied. I have one more question for you. The voice you hear in your ears is different from the voice that the microphone picks up. How do you adjust for that?
I don't.
Okay.
You can't.
Because when you're listening to, like, if you listen to it on playback, I'm like, okay, that's my voice, but then it's like, but that's not what I'm hearing.
Yeah, you physically can't vocally speak how you hear yourself,
right?
Because it's still gonna come
Right.
like it's just an impossibility. So, when I'm listening to myself back, what I listen to when I'm like, okay, is this gonna work? With this character, like I did a directed session this morning, and it was a kid's book. So I was trying, and there was 4 little girls. And so I was working out what are the different voices I'm going to do for each of them. So I record them and I listen back, and I more listen to, because I know how it feels, right? Because like if I have Ash and she's kind of airy and breathy, now in my head, I don't even pay attention to necessarily what it sounds like in my head so much. I mean, obviously I hear it and I'm like, it matches to what I think I am trying to go for.
Right.
And then if I hear it back, I'm like, oh, that's not quite what I was trying to emulate. I thought that might sound a little bit more innocent or this, and it's actually sounding more something else.
Yeah.
Then I'll just play around with it until I can find where I could like, and then what I'll do too is like I'll whatever the narration is. So let's say I finally found where Ash lives, and Ash lives here. So then I'll just talk like this for quite some time, or I'll read whatever the narration is, so I can just feel it and own it and like memorize it, and that's how I do it. Okay. That's a cool question because you don't sound like it.
Anybody, like people always tell me like, oh, I hate what I sound like. I'm like, I don't even notice it anymore. Is my answer. Like, I listen to myself all the time. I've been doing it since I worked in radio when I was right out of high school. Like, I just know what my voice sounds like, and they're the same to me, even though I know they're not if I sit down and I think about it. But like, I hear, I don't think about it, and everybody else is like, how? I'm like, just you get used to it, and you'll be fine. You won't hate your own voice.
It's true. Well, I hate listening to myself too, not because I think my voice is gross or anything. I'm just self-conscious and I'm self-critical, right? And I'm going to hear, I think that's where my OCD kind of kicks in, because then I start thinking, oh my God, that's an imperfection. And my brain goes off and ruminates into this stupid, unhealthy place. But it's crucial to hear yourself and to listen and and be critically and go, oh, that didn't work. Or especially if I'm doing an audition, I'm like, okay, did I hit it? And I close my eyes. Do I feel anything? Nope, that didn't work for me. And you make however adjustments for whatever it is that you need to adjust. So it's a skill that I've learned. So I don't even notice. I think I like what you said. I don't notice. I know exactly what you're saying, but I can't. I don't. I know, and maybe this also helps because I am a singer, so I'm very familiar with my instrument, that I know if I'm going to hit this voice, I already know what it sounds like on tape.
Right.
Fair
enough. Awesome.
A cup of tea.
Yeah. What's your preferred tea? What do you like? What kind of
just
tea?
Bog standard English tea.
Okay.
It's Tetley. What is it? Tetley British blend.
Okay.
It's the only decent tea I can get that isn't $12 for 40 tea bags.
Yeah. Do you do tea bag? Do you do your own steeping? Like, have your own?
Well, I just put a tea bag in a cup and pour water.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure if you'd like bought it in like the solid thing and made your own bags, or if you just bought it.
No.
Loose leaf. That's the term. Loose leaf.
Yes. Well, when I was growing up in England, my grandmother used to buy loose leaf tea, and I had an uncle who worked at Luton Airport cleaning planes, and he would come home with bags of tea bags, and we'd never seen them before. So in our ignorance, we sat around the fire, tearing open the tea bags and pouring the dust into containers.
not knowing that what the intent was.
Oh boy, yeah. Anyway, it took a while, but yeah, I use these quite nice tea bags. But what I do, I don't steep it. I'm too impatient. I have the back of a spoon, and I squeeze the tea bag up against the side of the cup.
Yeah.
And try and get the what would you call it? The infusion happening
right.
More quickly.
I tend to have to plan ahead if I'm gonna have tea. I'm like, okay, what can I do during the steeping time so I'm not just standing there staring at it impatiently.
Well, I can recommend the back of a teaspoon.
Yeah, there we go. Somebody in chat asks, wait, I want to know what almost went wrong with that first audition. It sounds like a good story.
Oh boy. Hang on a minute. What, for audiobook?
Your first audition for theater. The very beginning of the show when we were talking about your first audition, you said something went really wrong, and that's a longer story, and I don't know if you want to hear it. And our live chat wants to know: is there an abridged version?
Well, how long have you got?
So, how long have you got?
Well, as long as you like, mate. So yes, I just finished working for a theatre in Scotland, and a friend of mine was stage manager there, and a girlfriend that I was living with at the time went to the Royal Shakespeare Company and said, "Give me a job. I want a job as an acting ASM." To the stage door, because she'd been out of work for so long. And the stage manager said, "I can't. I employed my last assistant stage manager yesterday." All right.
Okay.
So 2 years later, we get home and there's a message from some guy. I couldn't make it out properly. I thought it was a what do you call it? Hoax call. Anyway, and she played it again, and it said, "My name's Graham Watson. I'm the assistant director for the." It was for her, not for me. "I'm the assistant director of the English Shakespeare Company, and I've just heard from the stage manager of the Royal Shakespeare Company that you applied for a job 2 years ago, and he liked your balls, basically. And would you like to come for an audition? And call me." But it was the day of the cup final. I think England were playing West Germany in a semi-final or something.
Okay.
And she was going to pick up the phone. I said, "Don't call him now. It was 7 o'clock at night. Don't call him now, because if he's a football fan, you're dead. You're not going to get the job." So she held off until after the match was over, and she called him, and she was sitting on the landing because we only had a short thing for the phone. And anyway, and she's chatting away, and I said, "Tell him about me." And she said, "Oh yeah, do you need any short, fat, hairy Irishmen?" And anyway, I spoke to him, and we both went for the interview, and I got the job and she didn't.
Oh no!
Acting ASM for my first year with the English Shakespeare Company, touring the world, and then they took me on a second year to as a playing decent sized roles, which was lovely. And in the meantime, I was doing a kind of fringe and off Broadway, but in London, in a pub theatre production of Baal by Bertolt Brecht. And my friend Sean Gilder, who I mentioned earlier, was in the English Shakespeare Company, and a friend of his girlfriend came to visit, and I was staying over that night, and so was she, and we got talking, and we've been married 30 something years now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I met my wife at just my friend's house between tours with the English Shakespeare Company.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's the end of the relationship with my the girl I was living.
That's funny. Chat says that's a really good story. They really
thank you.
Really,
I'm sorry it was
really
so long-winded.
It wasn't that long. It wasn't that long.
Well, I can bang on, as you probably gathered. Anyway.
The next question in chat says, "Do you prefer a live audience feeling in the reaction, or do you like the quiet recording studio better?"
Oh, well, I like both, actually. I love being in front of an audience. I used to teach theatre studies at a school, and the only way I could describe it to students who'd never been on stage before and who were frightened to do it was, look, the feeling you get coming back, when you know when an audience is with you. It's like you're building a vocal and emotional bridge to, you know, Mrs. Gobthorpe up in the gods, that is so inspirational. But getting lost in the depths of the book, not forgetting that there's going to be an audience, but not necessarily, yeah, I mean, using technique and everything to project the story through the microphone to somebody who's going to be listening to it in Australia, but just allowing yourself to become so involved in the story that it becomes meaningful to you, and hopefully what is affecting you is affecting somebody, you know, at the other end of the process, and you never know that. You've got no control over that, and so it's a much harder thing to do, I think, in terms, especially as it goes on and on and on. I mean, some of these books are, you know, 15 Paulinis at 20. The last one was 24 and a half hours. So, you know, you've got no control over people's reaction, and you can't judge it. You can only kind of monitor what you're doing and hoping that you're keeping true to the story and to the characters, to each character as you perceive it and as the author describes it. So again, a long-winded answer, and I don't even know if that's helpful, but the two things for me are rather different, but both enjoyable and challenging in their own way.
That reminds me of something I was going to bring up during the show, and I just didn't have time to fit it in, and I do want to ask it still, because you have especially in Murtagh, you have a unique cadence to your style of reading, where you find balance in the spaces in between words, where those are important. Is that intentional, or is that just the way you read things?
I don't know. A lot of people have said this, actually. I do feel I'm not much for self-analysis, really.
Okay.
Which may be to my own detriment, but the only thing,
and it's a positive, by the way. I love it. It really emerges into the story. It doesn't feel rushed. It feels like everything is important the way you do it.
Because I don't know, that's the way it seems to me in the writing, I guess. But a lot of people have told me, and some people completely unconnected with either theatre or the audiobook world, that I have a good sense of timing, a natural sense of timing, which I hope is true. And maybe that comes into it. But also, I have thought about this a little bit. I'm told that they can hear an Irish element to the way I speak, even using this ridiculous accent that I have.
Right.
I mean, I had an Irish accent till I was 5 or 6, and I can remember the day I changed it. You know, as the first word I changed was Michael, because I had a friend called Michael, and nobody else called him Michael. They all called him Michael. And I could hear that stood out. So there's something, I guess, in the way that the language works through me that maybe influences whatever effect you're experiencing. I don't know. I wish I did, but actually, I'm kind of glad I don't, because I might get self-conscious about it.
Right? Yeah, don't just keep
what
it.
I do, really, you know. And yeah, but I do really enjoy recording Irish audiobooks. You know, because I don't know, I just feel at home. You know?
Yeah, oftentimes an audiobook, and I've consumed a lot of them, the narrator, as great as they may be, sometimes I'm like, that just goes a little fast. That's like me talking. Sometimes I talk a little too fast. People can understand it, but you know, slow it down a little bit. Right. Enjoy those spaces in between. And I find myself really enjoying some of those audiobook narrators that find that space, have the slow cadence, or the slower spaces in between that actually make the sentences a little bit better
Well, I think that is an internal rhythm with me. But also it's something over which one has no control, because if you know who's ever editing thinks the spaces are too long, then they're going to cut them.
Right. Yeah, they can do that in post, I suppose.
Yeah. But I mean, not necessarily to the improvement of the book. You know, if
Right.
somebody's listening with, you know, with maybe a different kind of sensitivity, or, you know, different sense of timing, they're like, oh, that's too long. And there's nothing I can do about that. But I never listen to my own work anyway, so I'll never know.
Well, we'll skip that question. Somebody did ask that. So
What was that?
they've said, but if you listen to your own stuff afterwards.
Oh, well, I have recently, because I've been working privately for authors, and you know, I felt it necessary to really, you know, get it.
Yeah.
To know that I'm delivering them personally something, because there was going to be nobody in between. Whereas, you know, if I make a mistake, please God, there are, you know, there's a couple of cushions in post-production that are going to, you know, send me a long list of corrections.
Right.
Hopefully not too long, but yeah.
We have a few questions here that we did cover during the show. They asked them before we asked them, before I asked them, or before they were brought up. So we'll skip over some of those. This person says, what's fantastic? That's fantastic. I remember how much Paolini's narrative matured and developed just within the first half of the very first book, let alone the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic. I'm curious what prompted moving. Yeah, we already talked about your moving to audiobooks. Do you still do acting outside of audiobooks?
I don't. I don't get time, really. The last full length play I did, I played Oberon in Midsummer Night's Dream, and it was an outdoor production. And a year later, I met one of the girls who played one of the lovers, and she said, "Oh my God, we had such fun working with you. We never knew what you were going to say next," which was kind of delightful, but, you know, made me stop and think that maybe, you know, maybe I'm dancing around. There's a wonderful one-man play called Brief Lives by a 14th, 15th, 16th century diarist named John Aubrey. And I would love to do that. It's just a most extraordinary thing, but it's, you know, it's like 100 and something pages, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to do that. So if I get time, I'm going to try and cut it down, and I have somebody who's interested in directing it, but the impetus has got to come from me.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm seeing how many mistakes I make every hour when I'm recording, that I have to, you know, stop and do the ones I catch. So I'm just wondering whether, you know, the old brain box is going to be able to cope with a huge block of text uninterrupted by others. But God, it's a play I would dearly love to do. I'm just the right age for it as well.
Yeah.
Physically.
Physically.
So we'll see. But thank you for asking that.
Somebody, I want to scroll back. Somebody had a comment about something you said, and I want to get back to that and make sure I let you know, because it was very important. Where did it go? Here we go. I thought you did an amazing job on the whole book, talking about the Aragon series. Saphira is a dragon, and I thought her voice matched what you did perfectly for me.
Oh, thank you. You made my day.
So there you go. One of our viewers, and I agree. I like, in my brain, it's like, it's a dragon. Why wouldn't it sound like that? I don't care if it's speaking in their mind. Why wouldn't they speak in the mind just like they would have spoken vocally?
Well, you know, that's how I've kind of rationalized it.
Right.
Because it, you know, there have been more negative comments about it than I would like to kind of experience. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, what would be different? And I saw the movie. I don't know if you did.
Yes, unfortunately.
No disrespect.
I saw the movie before I read the books, and I'm so glad that was the order in which it happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I saw the movie first, and that's what intrigued me, because I was like, it's an all right movie. I want to know what would have happened afterwards. Yeah. Obviously, they weren't going to make a sequel. And I was like, I want to know what happens. And I was like, but I want to know what really happened in the book. So then that's what got me into the series.
Well, yeah, I mean, the rather breathy female voice, I felt didn't work for me. But then I'd already done my version, so I'm probably very prejudiced. But yeah, I'm sure I'm sure I didn't just pluck it out of the air. I've not gone back to check this, but I'm sure somewhere in the book in Eragon, Paolini describes or has something about the deep gravelly voice of the dragon. I may be wrong about that. I may be just retrospectively self-justifying, but
inserting your memory.
But I you know and of course by the time I started taking notice of comments like that, it was, the book was several years old, because I didn't know you could look at reviews on Audible,
Right.
and my naivety again. So I've never really, it bothers me, but it's never been an impetus to actually go back and look through the book to see.
Well, and people are more than likely to say things when they feel negatively than the people do when they feel things positively.
Yeah.
So for every one bad person, you're going to get 1,000 people who loved it.
Well,
those 1,000 people, they're not going to go to the internet and be like, "Oh, this is my review."
Yeah, well, which is also a good reason for not looking at your own reviews. But
right.
Also part of my thinking is that many people who come to the first book, Eragon, are actually quite young.
Right.
And I've noticed that as people go through the books and they're getting older, the comments are much more positive. Whether it's because I put the young people off completely from reading any of the others or not, I don't know. But it's mostly with the first book that I've read those negative comments, and I'm not negating the justification of them.
Right. People are allowed to have their opinions.
Well, quite, and and their preference. But I've noticed that as you get further along in the series, those comments are not quite so prevalent. Thank God. So anyway.
We've had a little bit of conversation about tea and using the spoon or not using the spoon in our live chats.
Oh, I know it's cheating, but I'm a Philistine at heart. So
awesome. All right. Let's see here. Did you find there to be an advantage of audiobook recording that you can piecemeal it together, get feedback, record a session, or does it cause you to overthink more when you're doing it?
Oh, I'm not quite sure what the question means. I mean, it's all kind of piecemeal.
But I mean, as opposed to being on stage in front of a live audience,
I see what you're saying.
One and done, right?
Well, as I said, I'm not one for introspection. When I pre-read carefully and make copious notes, okay. and I'm even sort of, now I've got my whatever it is iPad, I've got my little electric pencil and I'm underlining words and stresses and my little code of symbols. So I'm not for every word, but just if the complicated passage. One of the worst things for me is authors who write 15 lines for one sentence with qualifying, this and that. And, Mr. Heron is no stranger to that either. But so I have to go through and figure out where the hell I'm going to breathe. And so I've made a lot of decisions without having them set in concrete, but I've kind of got the shape of how I want it to go sort of in my head, but I'd never, lay down hard and fast rules.
Okay.
Sorry. But then when I'm recording, I'm directing myself. I'm my own engineer.
Right.
I can barely press stop and go. I'm absolutely useless. But I'm and of course I'm trying to embody the characters and the narrative. So I'm making decisions all the time that you don't normally have to do necessarily on stage. And I might be wrong about that, but that's my perception of it. And so I'm giving it my best shot. And sometimes I'll be very unhappy with something and go back. Probably more often than not now, but once it's out of my mouth and I'm happy with it, that's it. I'm done. And I don't go back and listen to the day's recording or anything like that. I put my all into it, and if there are mistakes, if there are glaring things, then somebody will pick them up.
Right.
But no, I'm once I'm done, I'm done, and I never go back and listen to the books at all.
Yeah, there are some narrators that I've spoken to where they don't even read the book. They set it down, they turn their microphone on, and they start. And I'm like, how? Wow. And there are others that are like, I need all these notes, and other people are like, I just read it once through real quick. And I'm like, there's so many different varied ways that audiobook narrators, and good ones, like award-winning, that the whole list, that have all these different varied ways of doing it, that it just fascinates me to hear the process. I know you and I spoke some time ago before doing the show, and you said, I don't really talk about the process too much. But to me, it's fascinating because people don't realize that all the audiobook narrators do it a little bit differently, and it's really fun to hear. So
well, quick story? A very good friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, a luminary in the audiobook world, now retired, sadly, through Parkinson's, but he was a great mentor of mine, and he used to get Dickens and Sherlock Holmes, all these wonderful classics, beautiful plummy British voice, and I'd said, but he'd also get the bodice rippers, her heaving bosom and his passionate breath and all that stuff. And I said to him, how do you record that? He said, dear boy, he said, I don't even bother reading the fucking things anymore. He said, I simply sit in my recording booth and say the words and think of the apartment in Paris.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry about the language, but
no, that's all right. We are okay with the language.